I guess it's time for lights out. Psych!
Millennial Nerd Sleepover!
Hey everybody, welcome to Millennial Nerd Sleepover. I am one of your hosts, Madison Metricula Roberts. I am joined by...
Hi, I'm Janet. Some of you may know me as Stacey, but I am a semi-retired burlesque performer, voiceover artist, and radio personality here in Raleigh. Hey everybody.
And also...
Hi, I'm Joy. Sometimes I go by Joy Shines. And I am a tarot reader and ritual consultant and general nerd. Also here in Raleigh.
And isn't that what we do here? So, listen, this is Millennial Nerd Sleepover. So, you don't have to necessarily be a millennial to give a shit, but you have to give a shit about things millennials do, which we are defining as roughly the pop culture time between the late 80s and maybe the early to mid 2000s. With that in mind, instead of a tell us about yourselves, I'm going to ask myself and each of our guests, what were you trash for growing up? Like, just what were you obsessed with? Like, what are you just, like, dripping wet garbage for? So, for me...
Oh, dear.
This is how we're going to roll.
Already?
Okay? This is not going to be safe for work. But, all right. So, growing up, I was obsessed with a lot of things. I really loved My Little Pony, and I struggled with this, but I really think I was just truly garbage for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So we're talking like in the, I was probably like 3, 4, 5. I remember playing pretend Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in preschool. And I'm a girl, and I'm a cis-identified female. And I oh my God, I always had to be April O'Neil or Splinter. Oh. And I suspect it's because a lot of people thought Splinter was boring, but now in retrospect I see some of those things. It's like Splinter is very measured and well read, and these are a lot of characteristics that we code as feminine as adults, and I want to get into that maybe in a later episode. But
so I'm sorry, but my brothers never let me be Splinter when they forced me to be April O'Neil. They never gave me the option to be Splinter. I think I would have resented Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles a little less if I'd gotten to be Splinter. I'm just saying.
I actually had, we'll get into this later too, but I actually kind of had my two favorite characters. I was April O'Neil for Halloween one year. And in fact, I think this was when I was like 5-ish. I think I was in kindergarten. And my mom was an excellent seamstress, and she sewed me a out of like fleece material, like sweatshirt material, a yellow jumpsuit that was covered in like Rob Liefeld pockets. Like,
oh my God, yes.
It was amazing. And I wore that for fun for like as long as it would fit me.
I mean, it was a cargo sweatsuit. Who wouldn't?
Yes, it was a cargo sweatsuit. And like we put like that red spray in my hair. That was one of my favorite childhood memories ever, was because I liked April O'Neil too, because she was like out there doing it for herself, you know. But I also kind of had a crush on both Splinter, especially in the live action movie.
Oh my gosh.
And we'll get into this.
Splinter freaked me out. That was, oh geez.
I don't know. Okay, so for those who don't know, I actually perform as like a white-faced clown. So in some ways, I became what I feared. But I also really liked Michelangelo, which now as an adult, I'm kind of a Raphael girl, like that moody bad boy. But like as a younger woman, by younger I mean like 4 to 8, I was so into Michelangelo. Because he's a party dude. And he likes pizza, which I also kind of identify with now as an adult. But okay, so that is what I was just trash for when I was like 6. So Janet, what was something that you were trash for when you were growing up?
I have not had a lot of character development in the nearly 30 years of my life. I was weeaboo trash, and I still am.
All right, for the folks at home, define weeaboo.
Okay, so Weeaboo is an otaku. I am someone who is huge into anime and Japanese and Eastern culture. I still am. But the term weeaboo came from a Perry Bible Fellowship comic where basically this group of business people is gathered around a table and somebody slips the word weeaboo into a conversation and somebody catches it. And then they paddle the person who said weeaboo.
Oh my.
Perry Bible Fellowship made no sense, but it's delightful. I love it so much.
We're like paddling.
Random code words for paddling. I'm down with this in life in general.
Who's not down for a paddling? I'm actually doing voiceover work for an anime project right now, and when we have new people come into the server, I grab what's called the Goten paddle if they get questions wrong. So yes, paddling is an essential part of my life and culture, and it's great.
God, I love you guys. Okay, but what are you weeb trash for?
When I was but a wee fledgling weeaboo, I was, of course, super trash for Sailor Moon. That was my life, and, like, my mom was not far off when she was worried I was part of a cult. But yeah, like, it was actually, you know, looking back on it, it was actually really helpful because it gives you a very good perspective kind of on what another culture's insights are onto romance, daily life, what school is like, that kind of stuff, even though it's kind of a broad stroke. Mm-hmm. And also just, it's a really cool thing, you know, having a female superhero, even though, you know, it's something we as Americans struggle with. Japan's like, oh, you want female superheroes? Here's 5 of them. And it's always, you know, oh, which Sailor Scout are you? Oh, I'm Sailor Mercury. Oh, I'm Sailor Moon. I'm Sailor Venus. And you and your friends can always have debates and conversations. And that, of course, leads to fan fiction, saucy fan fiction, a lot of it.
Smutty fan
Someday
fiction.
we need to talk about our favorite saucy fanfic.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's a whole other episode.
It is. I can't go there now.
Okay, so you're Sailor Moon weeb trash.
Yeah.
All right, did you have a favorite Sailor Scout?
Originally it was Sailor Mercury because she was the studious one. She worked hard at school. She looked a lot like me because I had short hair for a long time. And then it switched to Sailor Saturn because she even looked more like me. And I just thought she was so cool because she could literally kill everything. And I'm just like, that's so awesome. That's so badass. And she had this cool scythe and she was like 14. Like, no, she was like 12. And she's like, I will.
Oh yeah, she was young looking too even though they're all supposed to be like 14 or something and they look like they're 25.
Pretty much.
It's like she looked more like someone who was like 12 or 14.
Yeah, no, she was actually supposed to be like a small child, but like she's the most powerful of them all. And I'm like, that's so awesome. But yeah, like I actually have a picture of Sailor Saturn like sitting right in front of me, so I'm like, yay. It comes full circle.
All right, Joy, what were you trash for?
Okay, so as a little kid, I ran around my yard making bows out of branches from the bushes, pretending to be Artemis. Like, I was all in.
That's so fucking classy.
Oh my God.
For some Greek mythology. But, like, I don't know. This is the story world I lived in.
No, I want to know more.
And it's my grandmother's fault. I don't even remember what the catalog was, but it was one of those old-ass mail-order catalogs. They would run series of little comics in them with different little stories, and they ran a whole series of little Greek mythology stories for one issue or multiple issues. My grandmother cut them all out, and we saved them and read over them together, and I was done. Like, that was the thing that I just wanted more of.
Did you ever read the big yellow, like, Daudelaire's Greek mythology?
The Daudelaire's? Yes. That was my next book. And I was... so all my pictures... I have that. I have my copy. My copy of that.
Oh, my goodness.
And my pictures are all colored in. The ones that weren't already colored. I used it as my personal mythology coloring book, and I colored it all in.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I mean, I was into all the stories, but as a kid, And like in some ways, nothing has changed, and I am still complete trash for Greek mythology, as well as other mythologies. But also, so as a kid, I was super in the Artemis and Athena camp, because I'm going to run around in the woods. I'm going to hunt deer. I'm going to be uber competent with a bow and weapons. And I don't need no man because boys have cooties. And like, so this was elementary school me. And now I'm like way more into Dionysus and Persephone, but that's how we go. That's how we go when we grow up.
We transition from Artemis to Persephone and Dionysus.
Yes.
Like, hell yeah, we do.
Yeah, we do. But so that was me. I guess in a larger context, I was also like complete trash for playing like imaginative games inside my own head. I wanted to read things and then go. It was self-insert, not self-insert fic, because I wasn't writing it down yet, but it was self-insert.
Imaginative play.
Imaginative play, yeah.
I 100% am with you. Because, like, isn't that the stepping stone to fanfic?
Right?
Pretty much.
All right, so I was garbage for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. We have someone who's garbage for Sailor Moon, and someone who's garbage for, like, female deity Greek myth when they were growing up. We are the Millennial Nerd Sleepover, and we're talking about things that we experienced in kind of a millennial nostalgia time frame. But we are at a sleepover, so we're going to stay up all night talking about, first, pop culture crushes.
Oh boy.
All right, so I'm going to kick us off. We're going to kind of go around the table, such as it is, and we'll go through a couple of our either earliest or very, very integral pop culture crushes. So I'm going to start pretty young. Who remembers there was a TV show, it's like a PBS show called Zoobilee Zoo? I don't know if either of y'all watched it or know what it is.
Nope.
I did not know.
Enlighten us.
It was like a furry musical. In fact, it was introed by Broadway star Ben Vereen, who was Mayor Leopard, and he was the most human-looking of all of the anthropomorphic animals on the show. But basically, there were a bunch of animals that all represented different kinds of things. There was I think he was called I can't remember. It was Van Gogh Lion, and he was a painter. You know, and he was a man in a anthropomorphic lion suit, very Cats the Musical style. There was Bravo Fox, who was a theater person.
Oh,
very, you know.
He sounds like a good muse for me. I appreciate that.
And then there was Kangaroo, who lived inside of a giant drum, and she was the musical one. And this is aimed for children that are very young. And I think I watched this when I was like 3 to 5 years old, maybe. And then there was I can't remember the cockatoo, but there was a cockatoo, and I don't remember what she did, other than maybe she was into literature. I'm not sure. But my favorite, and truly the first pop culture crush that I remember, was Bill Durr Beaver, who was a nerd engineer, because he was really into building and inventing things, and he was a blue beaver. And actually, for years, I was really into beavers. Not a euphemism, like actual animal beavers.
We both believe that, don't we, Janet?
Yeah, Metricula.
I know. No, for listeners at home, I'm real bi. But I wonder too. It's like, but Bill Durr Beaver was like kind of like an engineer inventor.
Nice.
But I just remember, and he had glasses. He kind of reminds me now of like John Denver.
Oh my gosh.
Honestly. And, but I remember being like little, like back when we lived in our old house, and like making, do you remember those big square box fans? I would take a sheet and like you'd anchor it under the fan, and then or around the fan, and then you'd anchor it at the corner so you could make a big air tent kind of out of the sheet and a big box fan. And that was my beaver dam, where I was going to live with Bill Durr Beaver, and we were going to invent things. I remember it was a sheet that had like blue flowers on it, and they were blue like Bill Durr Beaver was blue, because he was a blue beaver. And that was truly, I see it now as an adult who loves nerds. I see that kind of thread just carrying through my life, where I've kind of consistently had crushes on like real weird nerd people. And I married one too, but
Right.
I'd say that's my earliest memory of a crush. And like I was too young to like recognize it as that. You know, it was like pre-sexual awakening, but I just, like now in retrospect, I was like, oh man, I was thirsty for that fucking beaver, you know? So, okay, so that was one of my early pop culture crushes. Janet, what you got?
All right, so thinking back, I have had a really bad predilection for bad boys.
Oh, preach.
And yeah, it's
you girls.
it goes back a long way, and I blame Tim Curry for it, but I'm not going to talk about Tim Curry today.
Oh.
We're going to save him.
We'll save Tim Curry for the Fern Gully episode.
we have a whole Fern Gully episode planned out, but today, ladies, I'm going to preach because I developed
Lord hallelujah.
I developed a huge crush on Alan Rickman, like probably when I was about 12, 13 years old.
Oh my goodness.
And as a result,
The puberty time.
I fell in love with Snape.
Oh.
I did. I know looking back, like, yes, he's a horrible person.
No judgment.
Oh, Snape is complicated. We can talk we all have problematic faves. There is no shame in that.
Hey, I also had a huge crush on Phantom of the Opera.
Oh, the original Trash Prince.
You can see a trend here.
Oh my
I
god.
have a
okay,
lot of
okay.
Trash
I'm
Princes.
making a note for a Trash Prince episode
Yes.
because there's a lot going on there. Okay, but tell us more about budding Janet and Alan Rickman.
It's just, I was, coming out of my weeb phase, I went straight into Harry Potter trash fandom. So it was just seeing this person, and especially as I moved through life into adulthood, and I empathized so deeply with having someone you loved and they didn't love you back, but still just carrying that love with you. And, like, I actually do have a Snape tattoo, but it's Snape from, the little comic about my life as a background Slytherin, where he's like really
What is
happy.
this? Tell me about this. What's wrong?
Matricula, have you never
seen that?
this?
No.
Has it never come across your Facebook feed?
Okay, I'll have to link it to you, but basically it's like characters from different houses, but my life as a background Slytherin, it's this little girl who's just like, she's the average Slytherin. Like, she doesn't get into adventures, she doesn't get into trouble, but basically Snape in my life as a background Slytherin is just the flounciest, overdramatic, like, he real gay in this one, but it's just, it makes me happy because this is the Snape that should have been. It's my melodramatic opera prince, and he's not a bad person. And he's basically
Just a drama queen.
Yeah, he's a super drama queen, but like, I'm super trash for like the deep, like, tortured soul, and that's what drew me to him. And I also just love Alan Rickman because I watched way too much Robin Hood and the Prince of Thieves when I was growing up. So there's that residual imprint there of like, I like bad guys and he's handsome. So
He does drip a certain kind of.
he's so charming and just in real life.
Colonel Brandon, take me away.
Yes, I know. And in real life, he was actually just so sweet and charming and just the kindest person, especially when you hear him talk about the kids. Like how he found that picture that Rupert Grint had drawn of him that was really unflattering. But he's like, I love it. It's on my fridge. And I'm like, this man, he's his heart. And I'm like, this is the kind of person I respect, especially as an actor, because he got his start like at 41.
Listen, if anyone's out there thinking if it's too late, it cannot be too late. It is not too late.
Alan Rickman should be like your inspiration. Like, Die Hard was literally his first major role, and if you can start on a high note like that, you're gonna be fine. So, but yeah, so I am trash for bad boy princes. Alan Rickman is at fault for this, and somewhat Tim Curry, but Snape is my epitome of just like, I have too many feels for people with unrequited love.
I mean, so like, so I was just looking it up. So the first Harry Potter movie came out in 2001 because I was still in high school, and it's like I remember it happening because like
It was a huge deal.
Like, because I think at the point that the movie came out, the third or fourth book was coming out. No, it was the third book. I think it was the third book because the fourth book came out when I just started college, I think. So we're of a generation. We were a little bit older than the characters in the books in general, but it's like we were still in high school and college when the books were originally coming out. I know not all of us read them then. I started reading them when the movie came out, and then I caught up and I started reading them because they would often come out in mid-July, and my birthday is in mid-July.
Ah, nice.
Harry Potter is a significant thing, which is funny because like a lot of us came to it when we were a little bit older compared to like stuff we came to in like the early to mid 90s, you know. Joy, what were some of your crushes that you had when you were in that that age of experiencing?
Well, so I as a much smaller child, I really wanted to be Fox Robin Hood's Maid Marian.
Oh.
You know I love anthropomorphic animals, so
Right. He was just so cute and lithe and
very lithe.
Yeah.
Very lithe.
Right. I like boys with a high dex score. All right, all other things considered.
Nerdy.
And I definitely wanted to date, although I wasn't at the time very sure about kissing. I definitely wanted to date Peter Pevensie from the Chronicles of Narnia.
Very noble.
Because who doesn't want the High King? Right? And Edmund was a jerk face. And
Don't settle for less.
Right?
He got better.
Right.
He got better. He got a little better.
He got a little better. It's
but
true.
There's some mistakes that are real shitty. I mean,
He was a jerk face, all right.
I don't care if you're 12. Yeah.
Then he was like lawyer nerd, and lawyer nerd has never been my aesthetic.
No.
I will go with Peter all the way over Edmund. But the first time I really had a little bit of this person is making me feel funny ways, and I'm a little afraid and a little shy, and like I feel butterflies in my stomach, and I don't know what this is about. That was when I saw Hook for the first time.
Ooh.
And Rufio happened.
Oh.
And I did not know what to do with myself.
I wish y'all could see Joy on video right now because I understand.
She literally got Twitter pated, y'all.
In the
Well,
yeah.
yes,
You were very
the
much
hair.
Twitter pated.
Yo. Oh. And the guy liner.
The hair, that kind of like devil may care, but earnest, but an earnest person.
Guyliner, oh my
the guyliner,
God.
and someone who's trying.
Also such a badass. And he even had his tragic death.
Spoilers. Spoilers for Hook.
For a 30-year-old movie.
No, it is not 30 years old. It can't be 30 years old. Shut your mouth.
People don't die in kids' movies.
Right.
That doesn't happen.
Right.
And then Rufio died.
In the arms of his new father figure.
No, when did it come out? Dante Bosco was born in 1975.
I don't remember.
And Hook came out in 1991. It's not almost 30 years. What year is it? Oh.
It's almost 30.
We're also getting old. Oh, that is an excellent crush.
Yep.
Let's do one more round because I want to know more about our trash crushes. So I revealed my first one that I remember, but one of the first ones I felt kind of strange internal feelings for was Data from Star Trek Next Generation. Because, I mean, later I understood.
Fully functional.
And anatomically correct. Later in my life, I understood what that meant. I don't know what it was about Data. And this is like when I was like, we're talking like 8, 9, 10 range. But I remember, like, that's, I think, a time I was specifically starting to experience romantic crushes. And Data really did it for me. There was something about that, like, deadpan, I want to show you what it means to be alive kind of thing. Not like an I can fix him, because he wasn't broken. Like, he was not broken. He just deserved so much. I was like, you deserve everything. And you clearly have feelings. And you are clearly a person. You know, like, you are very sentient. Very sentient. But then...
And sensitive.
Very sensitive. He's very sensitive. And he was such a good... oh my God. Can we talk about, like, I love, like, what was his ode to Spot, his cat? And his cat didn't have spots. His cat was a striped tabby. I love that. Oh, but, like, so I knew I was maybe different from other people when I realized I also had a crush on Geordie LaForge. And actually, LaForge is my license plate.
Nice.
But I realized at some point, even when I was playing pretend, like, we talked about, like, in our own head, like, self-insert imaginative play, when I didn't want to, like, pick between the two, and I thought, well, like, why can't I just be with both of them, both Data and Geordie LaForge? And then I was like, well, I'm a huge slut. Let's do this. That was, like, when I was 20. But, like, when I was, like, 10, I was just like, whatever. Who cares? It's the future. And, like, there's something to that in the way I approach most of modern life. It's like, whatever. It's the future. But I wanted to have a three-way poly triad with Data and Geordie LaForge when I was, like, in my, like, pre-sexual awakening stage, like 8, 9, 10, 11, kind of, like right before I got my period, you know?
So what I'm hearing you say is that you have a really big competence kink.
I am really into people that are, like, engineers and builders and like inventors, or people that, like, have a real specific knowledge that they apply. Mm-hmm. Like, this is not theoretical knowledge. This is very much applied knowledge.
Hands-on.
Very hands-on. Very hands-on.
Okay, I'll stop now.
So I'm still, honestly, y'all don't know what my nipples are doing right now, but it's like, I'm just garbage for competent people. So, all right, let's go around again. Janet, who's someone else that you had the hots for?
Oh, let's see. I'm trying to decide if I want to go weeb trash again or if I want to go slightly more nerdy. I think I'll dip back into weeb trash again because this kind of does tie back into my work that I'm doing. You actually asked today, what is Dragon Ball? So I'm going to give you a lesson in my first Dragon Ball
so I'm just going to recap briefly. I've never watched Dragon Ball or Dragon Ball Z or Dragon Ball Super. I didn't know there were other kinds of Dragon Ball. So on my Facebook today, I was like, lazy web, summarize Dragon Ball for me. And, like, we're at, like, 80 responses. And I'm going to summarize what I think Dragon Ball is based on the responses I got. And then I'm going to watch some Dragon Ball and see how right I was. But take it away, Janet.
All right. So as the series moves on, like, into the series, it becomes full-on sci-fi kung fu dramedy. And the second to last arc of Z, which is series end proper before this most recent series, which is kind of deals with cyborgs and androids. And there's two cyborgs before there's this pretty much monster, this biogenetic mutant named Cell. And there's two cyborgs, Android 17 and 18, and they're twins. But they're paternal twins, and one is a boy and one is a girl. And Android 17 was my crush. Because he was just so menacing, but he had this kind of, like, chill bad boy demeanor. He's running around, he looks ridiculous because he's running around in, like, green high tops and jeans and this huge, like, bandana. He looks like a 90s kid who doesn't know what to wear.
Obviously, that sounds pretty identifiable to...
I mean, in the 90s, he looked like a cool kid.
Oh, yeah.
But...
like, uber Zach Morris, but not trash.
But with long, longish black hair and these super cold blue eyes. Like, that's how you could tell, like, they weren't exactly human. But yeah, like, I don't know why exactly I latched onto him, but there was just something about him. I'm just like, he looks really cool. And then just as the series goes on, it's like, he's actually super powerful. And he looks kind of human. And he's not super, like, he is definitely OP, because everybody in the show is, like, super OP.
By human, do you mean bonable?
Yeah. He doesn't look like he's going to break me, basically.
I mean, unless you're into that kind of thing.
Yeah, no, not the bad
Being physically broken by someone you're boning?
Like, everybody else looks like they're gonna physically break you. But, like, actually, like, his whole character arc, like, before, like, when he, like, doesn't want to kill everything, like, he just wants a regular job. He just wants to be a regular guy. He wants to be a park ranger.
Aww.
And like, in this new series, he actually gets to be a park ranger and have a family. And just, like, that's actually really sweet. And he actually gets to be the MVP of the new series. I'm like, yes! My boy gets redemption! And he gets to be the, like, baddest badass of badasses. Like, he gets to save literal universes. Okay, I'm all for this. My crush has been redeemed. I am totally on board with this, and I don't feel as trashy anymore. So, I'm all for it.
That's important.
That sounds amazing. Listen, the way my friends talk about Dragon Ball makes me give a shit about Dragon Ball.
Like, it's a super passionate fandom, but yeah, it's a fandom like any other fandom. Be wary.
I know, here be dragons.
Yep, pretty much.
All right. Joy, give us someone else you had a crush on during your formative years.
All right. So, no shit, right? There I was.
Oh shit.
This is going to be a great story. We're all ready.
Oh shit.
I'm ready to be trash for this too.
I'm just beginning 6th grade. So right at that, hormones are starting a little bit, starting to think that maybe kissing people isn't out of the question eventually. And my grandmother gives me this book, and she's like, you know, this is a classic. You might like it. Here you go. And it was Jane Eyre, and I was.
Y'all can't see the cameras, but we all put our hands to our mouths like.
I was forever changed by Edward Fairfax Rochester. Just forever and always. Like, I finally later got around to Pride and Prejudice and had my Mr. Darcy, but no, Rochester, all the way. Mr. Rochester, I will brave the crazy wife in the attic. Yes, Rochester Jane forever, with a little side of, like, I could tell I wasn't really quite normal myself, because one really, like, unequivally digging Mr. Rochester is maybe not the healthiest thing, and I get that.
We don't judge here.
You've heard my trash. It's bad.
We are all raccoons digging through trash.
We are the biggest trash pandas.
Loving it. Yes, we are just rolling in trash. Yes.
Yes. For those at home who may not have read Jane Eyre, or it may have been, you know, a long time ago and you were unhappy because school is forcing you to, totally legit. Mr. Rochester is described as rakish looking, not terribly conventionally attractive, and he is one cantankerous, curmudgeonly motherfucker. He is emotionally distant, and he's sardonic, and he's not good at healthy relationships. He's really not. Like, he's either way too in and putting Jane on a pedestal, or keeping her at arm's length, and it's a problem, and I loved him. But I also had a small thing for St. John, or as I find that it's pronounced in the British, St. John. I don't know. I still don't get that pronunciation. Who shows up later in the book as this, like, diametric opposite of Mr. Rochester, the granite Apollos, all, like, blonde and pale and conventionally attractive, and super, like, where Mr. Rochester is all passionate and sardonic and runs hot and cold. St. John is just super frigid, but also intense, and that intensity. It's like, yes, a little bit, like dalliance with St. John, and then going back to Rochester, which conveniently enough is exactly what Jane does. So that was all very well then. But yeah, and the liking for curmudgeonly dudes, preferably with some amount of facial hair, has just persisted.
I mean, this sounds weirdly. This sounds weirdly reminiscent of.
Did you know that my spouse was living with an ex when I met him?
I did know that. I did know that. I also married a curmudgeonly bearded person.
Do all of our SOs have beards?
I think so.
Apparently.
I think they all do. Yeah.
Even my SO who's not my husband has a beard. I have a type.
Yes, all the beards. I don't know what it is about beards. All right, so.
Oh, man.
This is the Millennial Sleepover, but eventually you have to start getting ready for bed, even when you're up all night.
Do you have to?
Well, no, you don't. I don't know, but we have to close out. So we're going to go around and we're going to ask.
We haven't even, painted our nails.
Oh, yeah, we do have to do our nails. Okay, we're going to do our nails and do pillow fights and feathers will fly. But what I want to know, as we close out is, we talked about what we were trash for growing up, but what are you trash for this week here in the modern era? I'll start. I am real into playing Stardew Valley, which is it's like a Harvest Moon style farming simulator, but it's also a dating sim and a combat game. And there's a lot going on in Stardew Valley, and I've probably logged over 250 hours in my main file now. And they just introduced multiplayer. So I am just obsessed with Stardew Valley. What about you, Janet?
I am trash for Steven Universe right now.
Oh, it's so good. New eps in a few weeks.
I know. I am so excited. And I am listening to the soundtrack, hardcore, remixes. I'm trying to get to where I can sing, What's the Use of Feeling Blue? Because I'm
from Our Lady, Patty LaPone.
Our Blessed Lady Patty. God, I love her so much. And I'm watching theory videos. Jeez,
constant. Oh, man, all those roundtable,
yes,
roundtable stuff. Some AJ Universe, love it. Okay, but we'll speak more. But trash for Steven Universe, well worth looking into. Joy, what is something you're trash for this week?
I am absolute garbage for the Numinous Tarot deck. I got it a few months ago, but I am still just incredibly all about it, especially as there's another kind of wave of, I follow the creator on Twitter and a couple of other tarot community folks, and there's been, as people have been getting their decks, there's been another wave of people writing about it and people talking about it and oh yes, you're seeing all the things.
For folks at home, what's something that makes Numinous different from other decks?
So the Numinous Tarot deck, if you're not familiar with kind of the tarot community in general, there are a metric shit ton, and this is a technical measurement, metric shit ton of tarot decks for just about any approach that you want. So in this vast sea, the Numinous Tarot deck is created by a queer, gray, asexual, non-binary witch person called Noel Himple. And they their goal with the Numinous deck was to create a radically inclusive deck. So as I tell people when I'm reading for them, when I'm kind of describing what my decks are like, this deck is not white. It's not straight. It's not exclusively able-bodied. It's not exclusively monogamous. There's a lot of fluidity and inclusivity. It's not like it's religiously diverse too. It's just kind of mind-blowing. And this is all aside from the fact that the art is fucking gorgeous.
That is so awesome that that it's something. I love it when any kind of art or media or pop culture, like Steven Universe is another great example of something that's accessible to a lot of different kinds of people.
Absolutely.
And I love that that's something millennials were out there working on, and I love it. All right, so as we close out, again, I have been Madison Metricula Roberts. I'm actually a musician. I'm based out of Raleigh, North Carolina. I specialize in nerd campfire music, but I also do saucy adult music under the banner of the Safe, Sane, Consensual Clown Posse.
Honk, honk.
Honk, honk. You can find me at Metricula.com. That has links to all of my social media on Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, where I do live shows. It's all at Metricula, easy to find. Janet, what about you? Where can people find you, and what are you working on right now?
I'm Janet, also known as Stacey. Right now, easiest way to find me, come to me on Twitter at sconstage or YouTube, www.youtube.com/user/changeandface. There's only one G in that, so it's like Southern changin'. But I'm working on voiceover stuff. I'm working on my radio show, A Brief History of Comics on Little Raleigh Radio every Wednesday at 2.
Oh, nice.
The second part of the R&R pilot should be dropping soon, and you'll hear me in that. I play Chi-Chi. I've got a couple of anime dubs that should be dropping fairly soon. I'll be working on my own projects. I've been just working hard and just getting my name out there. So if you need something, I've got a particularly good Harley Quinn impersonation. So just let me know. I'm just working hard and trying to get my name out there. That's what I'm doing. So.
That's awesome. All right, and how about you, Joy?
Right now, you can find me on Twitch at Joy Shines.
That's Joy_shines, right?
Yes, thank you, Metricula. Joy_shines. I've been doing weekly streams, telling stories, kind of a travelogue idea. I've been talking about places I've been and talking about some folklore and stories from those places. And I've just started adding a second weekly stream about tarot and kind of spiritual self-care techniques as well. And I plan to keep up that one stream a week about tarot and related issues, and one stream a week for storytelling of some kind or another. You can also find me if you want to actually get a tarot reading. You can find me at Joyful Workings, either my website, which is Joyful Workings, that's all one word, .me, so joyfulworkings.me, or just look up Joyful Workings on Facebook. And for those of you who are not local, I'm also working on developing my video call reading technique and setup. So contact me, message me, and I'd love to meet you, work with you, and show off my gorgeous Numinous Tarot deck to you.
Well, that is awesome. Again, this has been the Millennial Nerd Sleepover. You can find us at nerdsleepover.com, where I will be posting links to the episode and show notes. We would love to get your feedback on the episode. There'll be more information about that on the site, and I'm sure we will be sharing it on social media. But in the meantime, I have been your host, Madison Metricula Roberts, and joined by...
I'm Janet.
And I'm Joy.
And everybody have a lovely evening, and may your brunch be wonderful.
Night-night.
Good night.